The Sandline Affair, a nation's challenge, a people's lesson. Papua New Guinea, a nation of mountains and islands, of countless languages and unbroken spirit. A young democracy still finding its way in a changing world, born from the hopes of its people and the promise of peace and unity. In the year 1997, the nation faced one of its greatest tests, not from outside enemies, but from within its own struggle for peace. For almost a decade, the conflict on Bougainville Island had torn the country apart. It began over land, resources, and the operation of the Great Panguna mine. But over the years it became something deeper, a cry for recognition, for fairness, for dignity. The war had taken thousands of lives. Families were displaced, villages were lost, and the heart of Papua New Guinea was heavy with sorrow. The government, weary from years of failed negotiations and searching for answers, wanted to bring the fighting to an end, to restore peace and stability to the nation. In that search for a solution, the government led by Prime Minister Sir Julius made a bold and controversial decision. Believing that stronger measures might finally end the war, it engaged an overseas company, Sandline International, a private military firm, to provide support and expertise. The idea was to end the conflict quickly, to reclaim control, and to open the door for development and rebuilding. For those in power at the time, it was seen as a step toward national security and progress. But when news of the plan became public, it struck a deep nerve across the country. Many Papua New Guineans, leaders, students, villagers, and soldiers alike, felt uneasy. They feared that bringing in foreign soldiers to fight fellow citizens could harm the nation's unity and sovereignty. The people asked, if we bring outsiders to settle our own struggles, what will become of our independence? Among those who spoke out was the commander of the PNG Defense Force, Major General Singirok. A career soldier, loyal to his country and his people, he called for the government to rethink its decision. He believed that any path to peace must be guided by Papua New Guineans themselves, not by the hands of foreigners. His message echoed across the nation. Soon voices of concern grew louder, from the universities, the churches, and the streets. Citizens marched peacefully, not in anger but in unity. Their message was clear. Papua New Guinea must solve its own problems with its own people. As the tension rose, the government listened. It was a time of confusion, fear, and great reflection. Decisions were made, discussions were held, and finally, the plan with Sandline was cancelled. The foreign personnel were sent home, and the nation began to take a deep breath once more. The events of that time would later be known as the Sandline Affair, a defining chapter in the country's modern history. It was a moment when leadership and loyalty were tested, a moment when the people and the government had to look at themselves and ask what truly mattered most for Papua New Guinea's future. In the end, it was not about who was right or wrong. It was about what kind of nation Papua New Guinea wanted to become. Sir Julius, a respected statesman who devoted his life to building this nation, believed in strong action and decisive leadership. Major General Singirok, equally devoted to the flag and people, believed in self-determination and national integrity. Both stood, in their own ways, for what they thought was best for the country they loved. And perhaps that is the real lesson, that in times of challenge, even disagreement can serve a greater purpose if it leads to growth and understanding. The Sandline Affair reminded Papua New Guineans that democracy is not built on silence, but on the courage to question, to listen, and to come together. In the years that followed, the Bougainville conflict began to move toward peace. Dialogue replaced confrontation. Negotiations led to the Bougainville Peace Agreement of 2001, a milestone that set the foundation for autonomy, healing, and reconciliation. And though the scars of the past remain, the spirit of peace continues to guide the future. Today, when we look back at the Sandline Affair, we must not see it as a wound, but as a turning point. A moment when Papua New Guinea learned that peace cannot be bought, that leadership must be accountable, and that unity is the nation's greatest strength. It reminds every citizen, every leader, and every generation that this country's destiny must always rest in the hands of its own people. Let history remember not the conflict but the courage, not the mistakes but the lessons, not the division but the unity that followed. For the story of the Sandline Affair is at its heart a story of growth, of a nation still young, still learning but forever standing tall. Papua New Guinea endures because of its people, resilient, proud, and full of hope. And may that hope continue to light the path toward peace, integrity, and the shared dream of one nation, one people, one destiny. Papua New Guinea, stronger through unity.